Just when silly season seems to cool down, Otmar Szafnauer, team boss of Alpine, starts to add fuel to the fire again. It has been a couple rough weeks for Alpine, where they first had to swallow Fernando Alonso's sudden announcement to move to Aston Martin next year, followed by entering a legal dispute with their preferred replacement driver, Oscar Piastri. But as the days pass by and many drivers celebrate their well-earned summer break, Szafnauer decided it has been time to fire back at Piastri. In a recent interview with Confidencial, he said that Alpine has invested millions of euros to prepare the Australian driver for F1. Szafnauer continues by saying that although loyalty is far from a given in Formula One, there has to be some sort of loyalty for all the time and resources we invested in him. Alpine is still very confident that they are right and that Piastri has to legally drive for Alpine next year. This is opposite of what Piastri's management thinks, and insiders say that Alpine had to activate a clause in Piastri's contract that would obligate him to drive for Alpine next season before August 1st. The timing couldn't be worse, as Alonso announced his move to Aston Martin on the 1st of August. If Alonso made his statement one day earlier, we probably wouldn't have this issue in the first place. However, in his interview, Szafnauer did say that there is still room for Piastri in Alpine's long-term plans and that they would welcome him if he comes around and honors his contract. But to make things even more complicated, the FIA Contract Recognition Board has accepted both contracts. This means that they haven't found any obstacles in both the Piastri-McLaren contract and the Piastri-Alpine contract. Nonetheless, Szafnauer warned Piastri for an ugly legal fight if he doesn't drive for Alpine next year. But what can Alpine do? Where did it go wrong between Piastri and Alpine? What are Alpine's long-term plans, and what other driver options do they have? Let's find out. Piastri has been a part of the Alpine Junior Academy since 2020 and has received millions of euros of investments in the last couple years. Already last year, Alpine put him in 7 independent tests where he drove over 3,500 kilometers, which cost Alpine hundreds of thousands of euros. Szafnauer said that if it isn't possible to have Piastri reciprocate the support he received the last years, it would be more than normal to claim compensation back. Alpine is far from a backmarker team and is slowly closing the gap with the front runners. An open seat at Alpine would be for many a dream. So where did it go wrong between Piastri and the French team? We have to go back to early June when Szafnauer was interviewed by F1 itself. He was asked whether Piastri would drive Formula One next year. Otmar was very confident and delighted to say that Piastri will be driving in F1 in 2023. When he was asked if Piastri would replace Fernando Alonso at the end of the year, he responded that Piastri would either drive for Alpine or for another team. Soon after, Piastri was linked to one team in particular. At the time, rumors got around that Piastri would be lent out to Williams in a deal where Alpine would also provide their engines to Williams. Toto Wolff already announced at the end of May that Mercedes wants to supply one team less with their engines. Due to a maximum price the FIA introduced, engine manufacturers can only charge their customers a limited amount, which makes the business of leasing engines not compelling and interesting anymore, according to Toto Wolff. Alonso's performance went better as the season progressed, and all signs pointed that Alpine and Alonso would extend his ending contract. Both Szafnauer and Fernando said that they would soon start the contract negotiations, and that if things go well, the negotiations shouldn't take longer than 10 minutes. So under a steady driver's market, the most likely outcome was that Piastri would sign a one-year contract with Williams with the potential to move to Alpine the following year. But as we have seen once again, the world of Formula One is far from steady. Vettel's sudden retirement announcement got the driver's market going. Alpine didn't want to offer Alonso a multiple-year contract due to his age and uncertainty whether he can consistently perform in the following years. Fernando was hoping for a long-term contract, which was something Aston Martin was willing to give. If it wasn't for Vettel's retirement, Alonso's only choice would have been accepting a one-year contract at Alpine and would have prevented the current drama unfolding. Because there were clear signs that Alonso would remain at Alpine for another year, and Ocon has a multiple-year contract, Mark Webber, manager of Piastri, went looking for a different seat. Although there was an option to lend Piastri out, Alpine could not contractually force him to, and so Mark Webber felt free to look for different options. Williams hasn't been the F1 team it used to be in the 90s, and with the current example of George Russell getting stuck at Williams for 3 years, wasting his talent, it would only be normal to look if there are better F1 seats available. A better seat was found at McLaren, where a struggling Ricciardo has difficulty adapting to the characteristics of his car. Webber and Piastri must have been so sure of Alonso extending his contract at Alpine that they signed a contract with McLaren before all the drama unfolded. This is a classic example of how quick things can change in Formula One. If Vettel didn't retire, Alonso would have stayed at Alpine for another year, and Piastri could sign a contract with McLaren without repercussions. Piastri has a clause in his contract stating that he can sign for another team after August 1st. Up until then, Alpine could always offer him a seat at Alpine, which he was obliged to take. Since all the drama unfolded on August 1st, the contractual obligations become even more tense. Szafnauer is now at the point that he threatens with large compensation claims, while he still can't comprehend Piastri's decision, as Oscar knows the long-term plans of the team. In El Confidencial, he said, "I think that is a question for Piastri, because I don't understand it. I am relatively new to the team, but I really enjoy it here at Alpine. We have great plans and we share these with our drivers. Piastri knows about these plans. That's why I don't understand his decision for wanting to go to another team." So what are these big plans Szafnauer talks about? Alpine set a goal at the beginning of the season to be able to win races within the next 100 races. They also introduced a program called Mountain Climber. Plan Mountain Climber is an ambitious program where Alpine wants to hire 75 extra people at strategical places that will help improve the capacity of this team. They are upgrading their simulation tools, building a new simulator, improving their production capacity while also upgrading their wind tunnel. This all should help Alpine get back to the top of the field and win races within the next 4 seasons. Szafnauer continued by saying that the ambition within his team is great, that his team currently employs 850 people, and that he is confident that they are going to close the gap with the front runners within the next couple years. This is further fueled by Toto Wolff's statement that he thinks that in 2024 there will be 5 teams fighting for race wins due to the budget cap and restricted CFD time for the front runners. This gives teams like McLaren and Alpine a chance to catch up with the front teams. So what other options does Alpine have? Szafnauer revealed that his phone didn't stop ringing ever since Alonso announced his move to Aston Martin. "I have had 14 drivers who are interested in the seat. However, I still think and believe that Piastri will be driving in that seat next year." Out of those 14 drivers, only 4 still remain on the list, including Piastri. This leaves 3 drivers remaining. One of them is Ricciardo, which is expected to be on top of the list to make the move back to Alpine if Piastri indeed will go to McLaren. The other 2 options, although not confirmed, are likely to be Nico Hülkenberg, who has proven to be quick to adapt and still possess great driving skills. The last one is either Drugovich, who drives impressively in F2, or Pierre Gasly, although Gasly recently extended his contract at AlphaTauri. But with all the surprises of the last couple weeks, it shouldn't be surprising if he is on that list as well. Nonetheless, Piastri finds himself in a difficult position. Even if he prefers to drive for Alpine next year, his new signed contract with McLaren might prevent him from doing so. The FIA Contract Recognition Board already went over both contracts and didn't find any obstacles. This leaves Piastri in the middle, and depending on how tight his contract is with McLaren, might find himself in the courtroom no matter the outcome. Do you think Piastri will go to McLaren next year, or do you think Alpine's threats are enough to make him come back to Alpine? Let me know in the comments section below.